What's going on behind the scenes and off the microphone at the Magic Word podcast? Hear what listeners and guests are saying that isn't on the podcast this week on The Magic Whisper.
Hello, this is Scott Wells for The Magic Whisper. Thank you very much for coming back again this week. We have some news you can use, and let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about the statue of Siegfried and Roy that has moved to the Neon Museum. Also, Wesley James had passed this last week. Also, Stan Allen is going to introduce us to a new concept at Magic Live. And we have an audio clip from this week's Magic Word episode featuring the fifth dimension. And we will talk about the future of the Magic Whisper. So let's get right to it. Last year it was decided the Mirage was going to close and it would be replaced by a giant guitar-shaped hotel for the Hard Rock Hotel. In the meantime, in getting rid of the volcano and Siegfried and Roy's secret garden, they were also going to get rid of the iconic statue of Siegfried and Roy. That was something which has been, an iconic landmark there for decades, where tourists and magicians alike have loved to take selfies, and it's going to be sorely missed in its original spot there near the Secret Garden, just on the Strip in Las Vegas. But not to worry, because this last week or so, it has been moved to the Neon Museum there in Las Vegas. If you've not had a chance to go to the Neon Museum, it is fantastic. It is something to see, a wonder to behold, either day or night. So at least the history will be preserved there, and you'll be able to have a chance to go and see the statue for Siegfried and Roy at the Neon Museum. During this last week, we had the passing of a magician who was really kind of an underground guy to some degree. Wesley James may not be as well known to many magicians, but according to Magicpedia, for 25 years, Wesley was a full-time professional performing close-up and illusions, mostly trade shows and colleges. In most of his college performances, he gave lectures on gambling cheats and how they operate. He was a developer of the New York Magic Townhouse back in the early 1970s, with Dorothy Dietrich and Dick Brooks, which became the Magic Castle-like establishment of the East Coast. But for many years, he refused to lecture for magicians, unwilling to expose the tools that enabled him to earn his living. But once he retired from performing in 1982, he started to share his magic with other magicians via books and lectures. His work has appeared in numerous magazines and books that include the MUM, Carl Fulvis's Epilogue, Harry Lorraine's Apocalypse, and Frank Garcia's Super Subtle Card Magic. He was also occasionally seen at some magic conventions, but more often at the 4F convention where I saw him. But he was always kind of super low-key and kind of an underground guy. But every time I saw him perform, it was just some of the most amazing stuff. And so, Wesley, you will be missed. Thank you very much for your friendship, and the magic community will miss you. Aloha, my friend. Next, I'm going to turn this over to Stan Allen. He and I had a quick chat recently about something that's going to be exciting that has just been announced this week that's going to be part of Magic Live Convention. So, Stan, I know you've got something you've been working on here for a while, and you're finally ready to pull the wraps off of it. So let's reveal a secret here.
Oh, gosh, I'm so good at telling secrets, aren't I? No, this is something I've been thinking about for about 4 or 5 years. And how can I best explain it? Every now and then, we see something in magic. We see a show or an act that just has a different frame that we're looking through into it. I'm not talking about a new kind of trick or a new theme or a new magician. I'm talking about a concept for the show and some kind of new way for us to look at magic and present magic. An example would be Simon Cornell and Shutagawa. I was at the castle. I saw them in the Peller, and they did a show where they were backstage and on stage all at the same, kind of bounced back and forth. Well, that's a different narrative now for us to watch a magic show in.
Mhm.
It's not different tricks necessarily. It's a different way we're viewing it because we're looking through this frame. And then also I hear recently Jonathan Levitt and Mad Tad did a show in the Peller where they had a wall separating them because they used to be best of friends and they're no longer best of friends.
Nice
And there's a
concept.
little sliding window in there. And they can do it. And the whole story now is about two people that have to do something together but don't like each other. Well, that's a new way to present magic now. Kayla Drescher and Carissa Hendricks many years ago did a show called Reboot where they handed out a big red button and people hit it and they have to start the show over, start their act over, start that segment over. These are all segments. We've done a few of these at Live. We have taken Shutagawa and Simon Cornell and we scaled it up and presented a whole show that way with them called The Very Strange Monday Night Show. We've taken Juan Varela and brought him in from South America and we did From the Dark, where you experience a magic show with a blindfold on and you experience it through sound and through touch of props. So these are new concepts. I want to search the magic world to find new concepts. And I think most of us have ideas. They're either scribbled on the back of the napkin or they're in the back of your brain maybe still, and you haven't done anything with them. And so we have teamed up with the Academy of Magical Arts, and we're going to search out these people, ask them to send us their ideas, and we're going to grab half a dozen or so and give them seed money to develop that idea over the coming months. And we will present 3 or 4 of them in a black box theater we're going to build specially for this. And we're going to showcase 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe it's the first 10 to 15 minutes of the show and we get the story of it all. And these are not complete shows yet, but we're going to showcase these things to friendly audiences 6 times at Magic Live. And then we're hoping that they continue on and maybe they develop it into the full 35, 40-minute show and they play it at the Peller, the Magic Castle. And from there, who knows, it goes to theater. So what I'm doing is, with the help of the Academy of Magical Arts and the entire team at Magic Live, we're on a hunt, not for new magic tricks, not for new magicians, new stories to present magic in.
Will these be presentations that once they have been presented and shown to the general magic community at Magic Live, well, there'll be 1,600 people there, be able to use that as their own? In other words, I know you're not looking to have new fundamental principles like transposition, levitation and introduction or whatever like that, but you're looking to have something that is revolutionarily new as far as the presentation goes. And so once they've done that, it's like, that's a great idea. Now this is free for us to use because this is a presentational principle. Is that right or wrong?
No, it's not. It's there. We won't own it. People watching it won't own it. It'd be just like you saw a show and you don't own the show because you saw it. It wasn't presented as a lecture or anything. No. This is their work. It's their idea. It's the beginning of their dream. And we're going to showcase that.
And then kind of being a little bit of inspiration, I guess, for others to start thinking of presentational ideas of their own, different.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember watching Simon and Shoot do this show. I didn't know anything about it. Just sat down, watched them do the show. And by later in the night, I'm still coming up with ideas, trying to say, oh, I wonder if you could do this with it or this with it or that. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea of Magic Live. We're a bunch of asteroids floating along and we bump into each other and sparks fly off from them. And those sparks are ideas and creative things that we would have never thought of if we hadn't been in that audience and seen that exact show and then had a conversation with those exact people afterwards or something.
Now, when you say you're doing this in conjunction with the AMA, is that because they're going to be providing some financial aid then to this as well as just intellectual or a place where they can perform?
This is a partnership arrangement with the AMA, and they do help us with that. They helped us last year produce a show about the juniors at the AMA.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
And so that was, we put it as presented by the AMA. It's presented by Magic Live and the AMA. But yes, they're involved in this search, and they're helping us do this search in financial and other resources as well.
Is it kind of hoped that other organizations like the IBM and S&M at their national conventions, or maybe Blackpool or others, might be encouraged or inspired to do a similar kind of thing?
You never know where this stuff's going to go, do
That's
you?
true. No, you don't.
And who knows? Maybe someday there's a FISM competition that is on concepts only.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, yeah, we're going to watch people's concepts here, and who has the best contest. Ours is not a contest. There are
That's clear. Okay, so
there's no judging. There's no judging. There's no awards. Your benefits, you get, help getting it out of your head and onto a stage and a showcase in front of a friendly audience. And hopefully we're going to do this show on Monday and Tuesday nights, which means during the day Tuesday and during the day Wednesday, we're going to suggest to these creators to be around and let people come up and throw their ideas at you. Hey, that's a fun idea. You should try this.
So is this kind of a free-for-all, open for everybody, or will this be a thing that's vetted and they go through you and submit some sort of videos and you say, yes, we're going to have you, or is everybody just come and show up and try your thing?
Wouldn't that be fun? Just come and show. No, it's
that's not your way, I know.
But there's a concept for a show.
Yeah.
No, there's a convention. There's a convention where the opening night party, everybody comes in and says what they want to do, and then they throw the show afterwards. You're gonna have to look that up. I don't know what the name of it is. But I love that idea that, yeah, you don't plan a convention. You have a showroom, a close-up room, and
people show up. And what do you want to do? People
show up and say, I've got a lecture. Okay. No, ours will be a very tightly vetted thing. We're asking for ideas to be sent in by March 7th. This is only being announced. It was only announced a few days ago on February 1st. And then by March 7th, we want those paragraphs, those ideas. Send us a back of a napkin if you want to, but just get us those ideas as quickly as you can. And then you will have 2 months before we will make the final decision. And during that time, you'll develop the idea. And that's where you get seed money. So a handful of people get seed money to develop that idea,
which will help offset some of their costs, I guess, of getting that Act 2 Vegas or whatever.
Well, I'm a world-class procrastinator, and that's what I didn't go into the book publishing business because that's a long ways off. I can put it off forever. Magazines, it's only 30 days. And so, yeah, so I think ideas like this, you need that little, kick in the butt to say, well, I've got an idea and I'll send it in. Let's see what happens. And we want to be able to help you. If it's a great idea, it works for us and everything, we want to get it out of your head and onto the stage.
Precisely all that it is at this point, in which they submit to you ideas and not a video saying, here is our fleshed out performance of this. Rather, as you say, just whether even it's on the back of a napkin, but basically they send an email and saying, this is an outline of kind of what we have in mind. Are you interested? Okay.
Absolutely. They send me a paragraph. They send me, what do they call it? An elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch, yeah.
Basically saying, hey, we want to do a show in the dark and nobody can see anything. They can only feel things and touch things. Hey, that's an interesting premise. We're going to write back and say, hey, let's go. Let's talk more about it. And by the way, their performances, even at Magic Live, these are not going to be after 10,000 shows somewhere and it's a slick, everything's the perfect act and everything. No, these are they're
conceptual.
They're works in progress. And I've nicknamed it the show Dreams in Progress. And so it's not going to be slick. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, it's what they're presenting is their dreams and their ideas, their concept for something different. And that's why the show's referred to as Magic, Etc. And the ETC stands for Experimental Theater Concepts. Okay. And that's the idea, etc. So the name of the show technically is Etc.
I understand. Okay. So again, they should be submitting these ideas to you, and they are conceptual ideas for new presentations of an old effect or an existing effect, obviously, I guess, or whatever they want to do, but some way of presenting it that hasn't been presented nor shown before. It could involve music or not. Don't want to
be anything. It can be anything. That's the whole fun of this is that we just want to frame magic a different way for this show. And, I remember years ago when I was a kid that I saw a magician who had a record and he played it in it's like the banana bandana trick. The record is telling you how to do the trick. It could be a whole show of that kind of a thing or whatever. Yeah, there are just tons of ways of doing this. And that's the fun part.
Okay. And so they should be sending a conceptual idea by email to you at how do they get in touch with you?
Okay, I'll tell you this. Best way to do it would be to visit our website, magicconvention.com. I'm great with names, aren't I? Magic Magazine, Juggle Magazine, Magic Live. Yeah, I'm a genius when it comes to
You're
names.
a genius. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they just go to magicconvention.com, and across the top, there'll be an etc. place. And go there, and it'll tell you the details and let you know how we're looking at this and what we're looking for and what it has to be eventually and everything else. And then they can submit. There'll be a submit right there, or just send it to live@magicconvention.com. And yeah.
Sounds like something pretty exciting. And obviously, if there is enough participation and good ideas that come forward to this could be an annual thing for you.
It could be. I love these kinds of ways of looking at magic. I think we're in a golden age of magic, of course. And you can argue about it, but when Doug Henning's The Magic Show came on Broadway,
right,
it came to the public through theater, and that gave it a certain respectability, right away. And so we have all these small magic presentation theaters around the country. And I think theatrical approaches to some of this magic, I think could make it fresh and new and a fun story. And people walk out saying, oh, I saw the show where the two guys were so mad at each other at the beginning of the show, and at the end, they gave a hug. Mm-hmm. It's a play now, and it's got magic to it. And it's hey, we love stories. Human beings, we love stories. I mean, how many podcasts have you done so people could tell their stories?
Exactly.
I mean, people love stories. And this is sort of framing magic with a story. And I don't mean, 1935, I visited India. Oh, God, give me a break here. I want the audience to go away and tell the story their way.
It should be experiential for the audience to have a memorable takeaway.
Trust me, when we did From the Dark, and we put blindfolds on people and walked them into a room and put a box on their leg, this was Juan Varela's work, it was polarized. There's some people that said, well, I'm glad I saw it. I never want to see it again. You say, well, you didn't really see it, but never mind. It's not a problem. Yeah. But it was polarized. And one of the things I wanted to do by bringing that to the world a little more, scale it up to the Magic Live, I wanted magicians to be thinking about, well, what would I do for a blind audience? What would I do for a deaf audience? What would I do, et cetera, et cetera? What would I do? And so now I can't wait to hear what some of these very creative people out there, even if they're not, a lot of people don't think they're creative, but they've got an idea. Mm-hmm. Send us the idea. We're going to help.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming up with this idea to have more creative ideas and to take us into the future and not just let us stagnate. I agree that we're in a golden age of magic, and Doug Henning was the one who had kicked that off, and we're continuing with that. As you see so many different places that are opening where you can see magic in a professional environment. And anyhow, it's just great with the direction whether you're taking this. And so I encourage everybody who is watching this to go to magicconvention.com. And
that's right. Get your napkin out.
Yeah, click on ETC up there and submit your idea, and perhaps we'll see your idea at Magic Live this year. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Stan, for being my guest this week on the Magic Whisper. That was a little bit longer than what we normally talk about or feature here on the Whisper, but I thought that was something that might be of interest to most of you. And I say many of you because, goodness, there'll be, 1,600 people, I guess, at the convention. And so everybody might be interested in coming up with some idea or perhaps participating in the et cetera, or the ETC. I'm preparing to go to England, going over to this weekend. So after this broadcast has been put out into the world online. Then I'm going to be leaving in a couple days to London, spend a few days there, then on over to Liverpool for a couple days, and from there over to Blackpool, and then on over to Ireland. But at the Blackpool Convention and all of the travels through England and Ireland, I thought in order to kind of get ready for those of us who are going to be going to Blackpool, and apparently it's going to be a lot. I am expecting there to be up to 4,000 people. I mean, I think last year we had like 3,500 magicians or something crazy. But the point is, in order to prepare for that, this was something to kind of get you in the mood, I guess, a little bit. We're going to be featuring a couple of friends of mine on the Magic Word podcast episode this week. That is Jeff Burns and Ivor Smith, who together are known as a Fifth Dimension. And their company is responsible for giving safety training to corporations all over the world. And I'm going to let you hear just a short snippet of something that Jeff had to say that I think is quite important and cogent.
So here's another thing which is really interesting. Training budgets are a lot higher than entertainment budgets. And in times of recession or downsizing or budget cuts, entertainment is probably the first one that's cut. Training is one that is usually maintained, if not increased, because we need people to be better, stronger, faster, whatever it is, if we're going through some sort of challenging times.
Thank you, Jeff. Great advice. And certainly I hope others will take this to heart. As far as the companies really do have budgets. It's just how they want to allocate that. And I think you can get a piece of that pie if you will just figure out how to incorporate magic into giving those presentations in order to have them help loosen their belt, I guess, a little bit and give you a piece of their business. Anyhow, you will enjoy this week's episode, again, featuring the Fifth Dimension on the Magic Word podcast. Well, for the past 31 weeks, including today, we have been presenting you on a weekly basis, released every Tuesday, this Magic Whisper. This has had the intent really of trying to provide you with some news and some things that are outside of the discussions that we have on the Magic Word podcast, but it's also been something in which I have hoped to have increases the listenership over on the Magic Word podcast and perhaps get more subscribers. And to that end, I really haven't seen where I have been meeting my objectives on trying to work as hard as I have with this video blog. So I've decided that after this, I'm going to end the weekly regular episodes of the Magic Word or Magic Whisper. We're going to continue with the Magic Word podcast for quite some time. I don't have any intent of stopping that for a long time. But as for this Magic Whisper, I'm going to shut this down. But it wouldn't have been possible without the help of you listening and watching this. I appreciate that and the comments that you've been giving me. Also, particularly want to thank Tom Vorchahan, my executive producer, who has given me so many different ideas and said, hey, did you hear about this story or that? And has helped to give me some content that I've been able to provide you here from week to week. So thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate that. You're my buddy. And for the rest of you, thank you very much again for watching this. I will continue in the future on an irregular basis as there might be some news that's worth talking about. I will do another Magic Whisper, but there won't be anything on a regular basis like we have had. Again, hope that you have enjoyed this. But please go and subscribe to our pod letter on the Magic Word podcast. If you go to the Magic Word podcast, you should see a screen that'll pop up that will say, join our pod letter. Please do. That gives you an update that I email out each week that tells you who's on that week, who's coming up next week, some suggestions from the archives. Please subscribe to that. And please listen and give us a 5-star review and comment for the podcast. We certainly appreciate that. So I thank, again, all of you for coming back from week to week and allowing me to keep my finger on the pulse of the magic community so I could share that to you through the Magic Whisper.
Share the whisper with other magicians and join us next time on the Magic Whisper. The Magic Whisper is a division of the magicwordpodcast.com.